Welcome to So Farscape.
A fun-filled Farscape fan cast by a fervent fan.
And a frankly fascinated first-timer.
I'm Kaki.
I'm Kay. And this is the story So Farscape. Yes.
Part 2, baby.
Liars, guns, and machines, pistols? No, wait.
Liars, guns, and money. Part 2, like in Hot Shots.
With friends like these.
Yes.
And
okay.
the story So Farscape is
yes, very good.
Jothi, who is Dargo's son, has been spotted by Stark, who has made a mysterious recovery. And we actually learn why he's so keen on getting Jothi freed, because it turns out that a lot of his people are also being sold in the same lot of slaves as Dargo's son. But in order to gain the monies, they are working on a bank heist to get into a dark deposit, I believe it's called, or something like that.
A shadow depository? Wow, you're doing really well.
Only illegal money is kept there. They manage to pull off the bank heist, but at the same time, Scorpius shows up, and it turns out that they are stealing Scorpius's money, or actually, yes. Wait,
money intended for Scorpius, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And things go wrong.
Of course, this is Farscape.
Yes,
of course, it all goes wrong.
Turns out that the money is actually like little leggy things who are going to like creep around Moya.
Yeah, we saw that at the end of the last episode. The sort of legs unfolded and these little... I mean, they sort of look like they came out of Robot Wars.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
I see where you're coming from, yeah.
We've got all these shots of, like, over the shoulder of one of these little... They're called Karak Metalites.
Karak Metalites.
And they're multi-legged creatures that consume metal with this corrosive fluid.
Yes.
Okay, so...
Sneaky.
Your prediction that the last 4 episodes of Season 2 would together be Liars, Guns and Money has at least not been disproven.
No. Because
this is the continuation from last week, and it ended with to be continued.
Yes.
So you're in with a shot.
Got at least 3 for 4, so we'll see about... if it's going to be 4 for 4 at the end of next week's episode. But we are not there yet.
No, but we can approach this from the perspective, okay, whether it's the second of 3 or the second of 4, it is a middle chapter.
Yes.
And we had one middle chapter before, kind of. That was in the Look of the Princess, which was a trilogy. Now, that one, as we mentioned, was originally like a 2-parter. That was later like padded out a little bit because they went so far over time and they had to cut so much that they'd already filmed. Well, we'll just pad it out a little bit.
We'll just film a little bit more.
Yeah, and that's why it has such weird a number sequence in the sort of production number. But this one was designed as a multi-parter. Yeah, see, I'm not gonna... And so I think they did a really good job with this as a middle chapter.
Yes.
Nothing really gets resolved. Everything gets escalated. A little bit more complexity is added. But as a consequence, it's actually a pretty hard episode to follow.
I mean, plans are made and then abandoned, but we'll see how that pans out. I mean, it's kind of like... I mean, okay, my first note is crazy plan going to happen. You know, that's literally the first note I made in the first minutes of starting to watch this episode.
Well done. Let's do some synopses. Let's see how our fantastic listeners describe this. If you want to submit a synopsis of your own for an upcoming episode, you can go to sofarscape.com/submit, and there's a handy-dandy form for you there.
Yes. Lucy says, a dangerous mission causes the crew of Moya to create their own suicide squad.
Ocean's 12 wasn't very good. However, in this episode, the crew teams up with Farscape's greatest hits to enact a second heist. The crew learns that sometimes the only way to get rid of bed bugs is to burn the house down, and Crichton admits he's not as good of a chess player as he thought he was. Thanks, Wookie.
Old foes make strange bedfellows when the crew sets up for the great bank robbery. Will they be able to work together to pull it off? Thank you, Billy Roberts.
Oh, Jenna, a single mother gets burned by fool's gold during a game of This Is Your Life. Wow.
That's a good one,
That's really compact as well.
And Eunice, a.k.a. Felicity Black, a.k.a. Chris, says, Colonel Sanders deposits his secret recipe with a new Queen of Mean who plays all the games. Marbles, bait and switch, squeeze the lemon, hide the sausage, and Lord knows what else.
Wow, yeah. Okay, so music.
Prepare the starburst.
Yeah, okay, before we get into the super duper episode, I have a proposal for how to tackle this.
Yes.
And I think we should take it apart in threads again.
Okay.
Because there's a major thread that is about Dargo wanting to be reunited with his son.
Jothi, where are you, boy?
That's one. And then there's 4 threads of like fulfilling Crichton's plan by getting some allies.
Yes.
And then there's number 5, which is Moya is suffering from these cracked
Moya's in
metallites.
danger, yes.
Yeah. So I have a feeling that if we sort of go beat by beat through the episode, we'll just completely lose the plot.
Okay, that makes sense.
And miss out. So I think maybe it's smartest to start with this plan of Crichton's.
Yes.
Because that's sort of motivated by Dargo wants to find his son. He's frustrated that he hasn't found his son. And he's still lashing out at everyone when they finally arrive at the slave auction. The Kratin or the Catin or Catin mines, depending on who says it.
Catin mines.
Catin mines.
Catin mines.
Where they want to use their newfound wealth to buy these slaves. But the slaver with a really weird mode of speech.
Yes.
Apologies, Lord Kesher, unavailable.
He sort of talks like... Oh, he sort of talks like a Halosian almost.
I suppose, yeah.
Right, like a Skeksis.
Yeah.
Says that they've already been purchased by a third party.
We missed the auction. No, it was a special order. Someone paid triple the asking price, and they're already gone. But we have other slaves available.
But who could have done this?
Who purchased that lot? Tell me.
Yeah.
And then they play a recording for him of Scorpius gloating.
John, as recordings are so sadly impersonal, I'll have to imagine what your face looks like now. Edged with failure, I expect.
He did a lot of gloating, also towards the end of the episode.
Yeah, that's kind of a Scorpius thing, isn't it?
Scorpius says, like, hi, so sorry, I can't tell you this in person because I would have loved to see the expression on your face.
Yeah.
But,
Edged with failure, I imagine.
But, I'll trade Jothi for John.
Dargo freaks out. He rips one of the control panels out of the command and tosses it.
I noticed it already started sparking before he ripped it off, but, it's...
Pilot is helpful. The DRDs had reinstalled all the emergency simulation bangers, so...
Yeah. And Dargo has a bit of a hard moment, because he was, like, as he confesses to Chiana only shortly afterwards, that he was, like right there, willing to give up John.
For my Crichton. I was ready to take Crichton by force and deliver him to Scorpius. It was all I could do to stop myself.
Willing to knock him over the head. He's so ashamed of it, but he can't fully process it. Like, she admonishes him, like, Crichton is your friend. Jothi is my blood. He's my child.
Yeah, I can see that. It would be a very hard choice for Dargo. It's like, okay, loyalty towards a friend and a companion, or, his son. It's like, oof.
Exemplified when he sees a vision of his son.
Yeah.
You're pathetic.
Somehow already imagining Jothi in the clothes with which he will eventually arrive, maybe?
Right. But I did notice that there were some differences between him here and there. He already has that scar on his face, but it seems to be a lot worse when he's like around in person. It seems to be fresher and...
Yeah. Actually, he saw that scar on the photo that Stark gave him.
Yeah.
But he was wearing a sort of pastel-colored outfit rather than the sort of refugee hood that he's wearing here. So this part of the plot escalates over the course of the episode because the lot of slaves is on its way to Scorpius' Gammak base.
Yep.
That's what Crichton has figured out.
No, not to the Gammak base.
Sorry, no, you're right. The Shadow Deposit.
Shadow Deposit, yeah.
Yeah, you're right. Which I guess is... They had built the sets for that and wanted to get a lot of use out of it.
I suppose it makes sense.
You'd think otherwise he'd go back to his command carrier.
You'd think, but or he'd fly that towards the
towards
the slavery place, or because he does want to get it. He wants Joffrey. Joffrey, no, not Joffrey. Not Joffrey.
Come on,
Joffrey is King of Thrones.
He
Game
wants.
of Thrones.
Yet he was a king in Game of Thrones. Yeah,
yes, that's what I mean. Yeah.
He wants Jothi as quickly as possible. He doesn't want Crichton to be able to formulate a plan.
So he sends a marauder over to go get him.
Dispatch a marauder to the freighter. And have the Luxon's son returned here at maximum speed.
And he's really snippy, is Scorpius,
yes.
at this point. Everyone that tries to give him bad news or tries to admonish him, which is mostly Braca and Akor. I kind of liked that the sort of lieutenants of Natira and Scorpius, they seem to get on well. Like, they spend a lot of time just hanging around together, waiting to be interrupted by Scorpius.
I guess that's, that's what you get used to, I suppose.
Later in the episode, there is a horrifying moment when Stark freaks out because he senses that the 9,999 Bannocks
I mean, they don't say it's all Banniks, but there are many Banniks are among the slaves.
And much like Obi-Wan, who senses a million voices crying out and then going silent.
Gone. Dead. All dead. All dead. I failed them.
What are you talking about? The Banniks. They're gone.
Which I don't quite understand, because, like, Scorpius has a discussion with Natira about what to do with the slaves and, like, recuperate losses and everything like that.
Natira did spend a great deal to acquire them. We could accept the surplus and resell them individually to recoup our losses.
You mean your losses?
A poor choice of words. I hardly consider it a loss.
And it seems that they're going to, like, just have them sell them again.
Yeah.
And yet there's the implication that they've all been killed all of a sudden.
Agreed, especially because it's not clear whether it happens in transit or what happens. But yeah, Jothi is separated, but all the other Banniks are like their space. They're executed. Killed, it happens off screen. We don't even learn the motivation.
No,
they were apparently to be given to Natira, but whether they were killed before or after, we just don't learn. But hey, it's a jam-packed episode. There's a really cool sort of interrogation. Scorpy approaches Jothi.
Jothi, is it?
Yeah.
Strangely sympathetic, right? He's sort of oddly kind of grooming him for militarization. Like, who do you hate more? The peacekeeper part of your heritage or your...
I mean, he's doing a lot of projection there, I think.
And Natira is helping him. Like, Jothi freaks out at the sight of Scorpius. What the frell are you?
Yeah.
Some kind of mutant?
His mother was a Sebacean. She was raped by a Scaran.
Did your Luxon father rape your mother as well? Like, whoa. And Jothi is so, like, calm through it.
He has very much so.
Very bright eyes.
Jothi's actually much kinder than the Phantom Jothi, I suppose, because the Phantom Jothi is just Dargo's guilt projecting on himself.
Yeah.
So,
you can always tell a vision by the fact that they're sort of persecutory, right? Or hallucinations, I should say. And this arc of the plot resolves where, at the end of the episode, all of Crichton's plans have not resulted in being able to get Jothi back and not even having any hope of getting him back. And John slinks off quietly, much to Dargo and Aaron's consternation. So when his transport pod returns at the end of the episode, they're ready to read him the riot act. But Jothi walks out because it turns out that
which is again another twist, I suppose, because like we literally don't see anything of that happening. It's just like towards the there's a scene when they've gathered the Suicide Squad as it was so succinctly put, and they're realizing that the plans are not working because Jothi is firmly in the hands of Scorpius, and they have no hopes to actually attack the base. Suddenly, John has disappeared.
Yeah,
it's like they're going like, oh, what happened to John? And he's already coming back. And that's when it turns out that Jothi's on board.
You see a sort of foreshadowing line that Crichton says when they're walking through the damaged parts of Moya. And they say, we have no hope of Jothi being brought back. And Crichton, you see the look of resolute determination in his eyes.
Scorpius is going to kill Jothi.
No, he won't.
As he goes off and sacrifices himself.
Yes.
He tells Scorpius, you win.
As if there was ever any doubt.
God, it was creepy. He's walking around Crichton, laying his hands on him. Like, it's so intimate.
But it's interesting how he goes, he says like, you win, but he almost like makes it sound like, okay, I want you out of my head and you want the information, make it happen. It's like almost like he's in any position to make any deals anymore at this point. But it's interesting that he thinks that he still might have something up his sleeve. Which I'm suspecting there might be, but I wouldn't know what. But I've got my
Fair enough. Yeah. No, that's entirely fair. I mean, this is like there is a lot happening off screen. I really admire. Oh, this was another Naren Shankar written episode. I really admire how he managed to juggle all these complicated plots together in a way that is much more cohesive than I think we'd be able to do if we did it one at a time. So the meat and potatoes of the episode is Crichton's plan, where he gathers everyone together and he says, "Okay, we have a bunch of money. We clearly can't use it to buy the slaves anymore, but we can get Jothi back."
Jothi is still in transit. He won't get to the depository for a couple of solar days.
How can you be sure he's going to the depository?
I know how Scorpio thinks.
We have some time, we can get some allies, and we can raid the Shadow Depository, kill Scorpius, because I think that's still his primary motivation.
He still wants Scorpius well and truly dead.
And rescue Jothi. So we need 4 things.
Item 1. We need a blood tracker.
The Vulcarians. They're the ones who tortured me.
Because they'll be able to sniff out a half Luxon wherever Scorpius has him stashed.
Yep.
Item 2, we have to pound our way into the depository. For that, we need a Xiang.
Whose fire breath can blast through metal walls.
I mean, I guess you need that to go fighting around the Shadow Depository.
Yeah, right, to make it through those security doors that previously they had Stark opening for them, but that probably won't work again.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. Hey, that was really well explained. While Stark was hacking the doors, that's when Scorpius was hacking him back and gained the information about Jotham.
Yes, at least that's presumed to have occurred, yes.
They also need a tabloid.
Tavlek.
Which is like a really big throwback to right at the beginning. That's like episode 3 or 4.
That's right.
Isn't it? Yeah, where they're...
thrown for a loss.
The guys with the drug gauntlets, which are...
the fucked up faces.
Oh, yeah, that too, yes. The space orcs, basically.
Yes, that's the one. The cosplaying in a little Mad Max village. And lastly, Zenitan pirates for the Flax.
Flax what?
An electrostatic scan. It instantly disables ships.
That they can use to incapacitate ships with and presumably capture the freighter that is being used to board
is that what it is?
Well, I mean, later they say that they want to use it to cover their escape when they leave the Gamak base.
Oh, that makes us well. I mean, Shadow Depository, now you did it.
Yeah,
sorry, I've got you doing it now. Yeah, so it's greatest hits, baby. We've got The Flax, Season 1, Episode 13, Vulcarian Blood Trackers, Season 1, Episode 10 or 11, Till the Blood Runs Clear, the Xiang from PK Tech Girl, and the Tavlex from Throne for a Lost. Okay. No, I deserve that one. From Throne for a Loss. It really is like the greatest hits. And so this was also a great opportunity for me to break out the Farscape, the Creatures of Farscape book, which was, funded thanks to our Patreon subscribers.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
They allow us to buy these weird books to do more research into the past and present of Farscape.
It's not much of the present. It's not currently airing, spoilers, but we live in eternal hope. Oh, thank you to our newest subscriber, by the way, our newest patron, Matthew, who I think has retroactively helped down here. So it was an opportunity to sort of look at these early designs from season 1.
Oh,
we've got a sort of maquette of the cast of the Tavlek boy that came aboard.
Quite respectable for your age.
And we have a close-up of Bakesh, played by John Adams, who, while he was being fitted with this helmet that does not allow him to see except through like one little bullet hole, which he absolutely hated. And then Dave Elsey, while he was fitting him with these prosthetics, said, okay, now if you ever come back on Farscape, I promise I'll give you eyes. But then he did come back and he still...
But he had to play the same character again. Yes.
Yep. He wound up later coming back playing another eyeless alien and then another mechanical. Like every time, I'm so sorry, but you promised, Dave.
I think they actually put some extra holes in his visor, so that it looks like there's more. It's a little bit more damage than it is in these photos. So it looks like he has more than one little peek hole to look out through.
Yeah, yeah. They added more scarring to it, and also gave him like a jaw sort of brace.
It's been hinged up. Oh yeah, little piston things which help his jaw move up and down, I suppose.
Yeah, sort of bringing it back to closer to like original design, the early designs that they'd actually built. Their faces were being held together by staples.
Yes.
And like the day of shooting, I think it was like Brian Henson kind of nixed those staples. Let's take those out. This is getting awfully horrifying for what I thought was going to be a space adventure show.
Yeah, well.
Speaking of going back to the originals, the Xiang had to be rebuilt.
Oh, yeah.
Because apparently those animatronics weren't stored or whatever.
I was wondering about that, like especially with the prosthetics and everything like that. They tend to degrade presumably quite quickly. I've seen like old latex models of various movie props, and they tend to fall apart.
Yeah, they tend to keep the sort of molds like face cast or body cast. Those are precious, but like recasting those that you usually want to use like new materials.
Yeah, that makes sense.
For the Xiangs, they went a bit back. You can see here one of the original like sketches for the Xiang.
Yes, they went much more with the spacesuit armor type thing that he was wearing in this episode.
Yes, yeah, sort of bringing back the original look, and with the cooling suits that they'd invented for these creatures. Now, the Vulcarians, which we have here as well, like, I didn't think they look as good this episode, than that turns out.
They got a little bit more makeup and...
More makeup and less... Yeah.
More facial hair.
It's because they weren't using that hot flesh material that Elsie and his team experimented with. That was introduced with the Vorkarians in Season 1.
Yeah.
But for their return in Season 2, because there was just so much makeup to do, they sort of simplified that and went for foam latex.
All right.
And then had the rest of these creatures done up by the wardrobe department.
Uh-huh.
So,
I mean, they were just like, their outfits were pretty wardrobe heavy, long, shaggy coats, but it seemed like their faces were a little bit hairier than they were in the past as well.
The hot flesh looked great. It was sort of a step up from foam latex to the silicone that's used nowadays. So they split up. 3 spacecraft leave Moya, a transport, a prowler, and a space shuttle.
The module, yeah.
And John's little rocket.
I love my module.
Now fitted with Moya-type engines.
Propulsor, it's now called, yeah. And they're heading off to recruit. And let's start with Erin. She goes off to recruit a Shiyang.
Attention, Shiyang vessel. This is not a hostile approach.
I have an opportunity for profit.
And she boards this ship, which is falling apart. It's clearly been through an attack, and she finds one Shiyang, who is like, he's covered in goop, which I guess is his blood. Everything's falling apart. And she sort of bullies him for a little bit, because he says he's interested in joining up after he reveals that they were attacked. It was completely unprovoked. All of his crew...
And she's like, yeah, unprovoked.
Yeah, right.
And where's the rest of your crew?
Abandoned ship in evacuation pods.
He stayed behind to guard as commander of the ship.
As he should, yes.
Yeah, because we know this as Turak. He was the leader of the Shiyang in PK Tech Girl.
There is no shame in losing to a clever opponent.
How they find this exact Shiyang is not revealed,
nor how everybody is just like in convenient transport pod range of where Moya just happens to be now.
Hey, but if we're going to sort of hand wave, let's just go with it.
There's actually a line where Pilot says that he and Moya have been trying to map as much of the uncharted regions as they can since they've been moving around there.
Yeah, that's true. Not so uncharted anymore.
No.
But still, like, knowing where things are doesn't make them any closer, usually. Maybe there's some weird spacey-wacy navigation. Maybe that really is the case.
Oh, well, that would...
No, but wait, hold on. Maybe if something, I don't know, maybe it's like non-linear acceleration or whatever, that the hard part of finding a destination is like pinpointing it.
Mm-hmm.
That actually traveling the distance is relatively easy, but when you get to somewhere where you don't know exactly where it is, you have to spend like 18 days sort of spiraling around until you find the actual planet.
Okay, yeah, I can go with that.
Oh, thank you. You're being uncommonly generous. Look, normally you'd have pulled out your Kerbal Space Program hat by now. And
that doesn't do with interstellar travel. Yet.
Yes, exactly. Kerbal Space Program, the next generation. Here we go. Turak insists that he does have it in him.
Belches out a fireball, which doesn't impress Erin. She goes, look, I've seen bigger. I was like, I can do bigger. It's like, he kind of really wants in.
Yeah, yeah. This is the extent of the Shiyang arc. Meanwhile, John is off recruiting a Tavlek with a gauntlet, but...
He's found the Lord, and he is now trying to pull a Zahn. Meditating over the writings of some priest that he executed a while ago.
The Writ of Taru. And it's interesting that you say pulling a Zahn, because it's not Kier, which was the boy that Zahn sort of ministered to. Like, it's not him.
It's the commander.
Yeah, yes. Bakesh with the chrome dome.
Take this royal pain out of my sight.
Who is trying to atone for a life of violence through calm, and he's sitting there praying. It's sort of like, what was it, Rambo or Rambo 2, where he's living with
the natives?
Yeah, I don't know.
It's kind of unclear what he's doing, but yeah, John tries to talk him into coming back, and I want the glove. There's a lot of talk about how he really just wants the glove, and he doesn't really want what was his name again?
Bakesh, yeah, very good.
Himself. But Bakesh won't even agree to that because...
The Writ of Taru says allowing another to inflict harm is an act of violence itself.
But fortunately, he starts jonesing for his glove juice.
Yeah, so this must be recent.
I guess, yeah.
You know, if you start collapsing within one day of giving up your addiction, he can't have done it for very long. Although... John is a real nag.
Pretty soon you're going to start jonesing for that. I'm not leaving here with
Taru Baka Taru.
Vikesh.
Taru Baka
I
Taru.
all the time in the world.
Oh, totally.
Sort of hovering around and like
Pestering.
poking him in the neck. Do you want your juice yet? Do you want your juice yet?
Where is it?
Are you jonesing?
I mean, he's got him in handcuffs and just basically sitting there in the middle of these piles of stones,
tempting him, just sitting around, sort of smoking and drinking and shooting up heroin, and like, oh, it feels so good. It feels so good.
Feels good.
Until finally, Vikesh
glances at a particular pile of stones, at which John goes like, "Oh, that's where it is," and kicks over the stones, digs the glove out, goes like, "I'll wear it." He goes like, "No, you can't.
Put that on, it'll kill you."
You forget. I've worn a gauntlet before. Remember?
That was over a cycle ago. I've tripled the dose since then.
And that's why he has to be brought along.
Why should I trust you?
You said there was currency in it for me. Lots of it.
What about your great reformation?
Well, it's easier to reform when you're rich.
Yeah.
I mean, I appreciate that. And then there's also the Volcarians, which I thought it was interesting that Dargo's the one to go and hunt them because they tortured him.
Yes.
They're the ones who tortured me.
Tell us, where are they?
Right? They hunted him first, back in Till the Blood Runs Clear.
But he doesn't seem to be holding a grudge, or at least he's willing to set it aside for the prospect of getting Jothi back.
We see them running through some forests, being chased. At first, we think it's Dargo chasing them.
But it turns out it's peacekeepers who get efficiently dispatched by Dargo, who finally learned how to shoot his Keyblade.
Yeah, very impressive. Like 2 shots, 2 kills, and then he raises it, come with me if you want to live.
Yes, exactly. That's what...
And I loved this interaction between them. Because they go off to the cave, and like the first thing that Worf, I think is the male, says when he thinks that Dargo's there to kill them.
Spare my female. Please. She bears my children.
So it turns out she's pregnant, and they were running from the peacekeepers because they noped out of a contract they had with them. Only took half the money, which they seem to consider to be very generous of them.
And when Dargo makes his offer, the male says nope, and the female says yes.
Will you help me?
Yes.
Because Dargo helped them to save their children, future children.
Yeah.
And therefore, she feels that they're obligated to go help
restore
him.
his child. Like, that's some really strong motivation.
Yeah.
There.
She says, I'll be safe here. This is like, the cave is hidden. He already killed our pursuers. So I'll be safe here and have the kids. And you go and help him.
That was really
Plus
lovely.
money.
Also money, yes, no. You're right, that sort of comes at the end. I was sort of overwhelmed with emotion and delight at this scene. And then, and also it's a lot of money. Yeah, okay.
But everybody does that. It's like, okay, everybody has another reason, and then goes like, oh yeah, and the money.
Yes. To the point where they're finally all together at the end aboard Moya, sort of arguing at each other and insulting each other. And the Volcarian is snapping at the Tavlek, and the Shaeng's there as well, calling them all, you're all traitors and mercenaries. And Chiana says, we're fighting all are.
Yes, there's nobody on board the ship who is not...
That's what we're here for.
Yes, because it turns out that there's no money, because the money is gone up and walked off and has been nibbling on Moya.
Yes, because that's the other major plot. The metallites that were disguised as ingots, which we discover was a ploy by Natira to kill Scorpius.
Yes. There's a lovely, well, I won't call it a lovely scene, but a fascinating scene where they are kind of like making out. I mean, she's like hanging back in her web chair.
What did you think was happening? Because we get these close-ups, and Scorpius is snarling, and he's strangling her, and she's got her sort of crab claws with spider legs on her head.
He takes one in his mouth, and he starts to suckle on it.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, out pops his heating element.
Yes, he pops his rod.
Yes.
And his rod pops out. Sorry, that's how I should say it.
His red rod pops out.
Oh my God, it's worse.
Because normally it twists out, but now it just goes pop, and it just like springs out, and he's like, there's a sigh of relief as if he's like reached some sort of climax.
Yeah, and they sort of dismount, and they both light a cigarette,
and she like replaces the red rod with a blue rod.
Apparently, this scene was originally filmed as more of a straight up sex scene.
Yes, I mean it did feel like one.
Right? But it was filmed as more sort of straight up and sensual.
Yes.
And later on, apparently Wayne Pygram was having dinner with Dave Elsey and sort of complaining, like, he felt it should have been weirder.
Yeah.
Like, he should have been sucking venom out of her tentacles. They're sort of like snarling at each other. It's sort of been this huge BDSM fest.
Right, and that's what it feels like, yes.
And then he came to the set the next day.
He seems to be choking her.
Yeah. And then he arrived on set to discover, oh yeah, we're refilming that sex scene to make it weirder. Yes! And Pygram and Elsie sort of revealed what they discussed over Yamcha. And yeah, okay, we'll do that. That's weird.
That's
really weird.
But especially, the rod popping out is just like...
And here we learn probably the most backstory that we've had. Because he talks to Natira as if it's someone that he's known for a long time.
Yes, I mean, they clearly have known. And she admits that she was going to try and kill them because you wouldn't have respected me otherwise if I hadn't.
And it's kind of true.
And it's like, oh, lucky for me that I got robbed then.
There's a lot of backstory. Like, apparently, he was a young hothead that she took in, and he protected her from the peacekeepers. Like, they go way, way back.
Yes, they have a relationship.
Even talking about how his coolant system is a lot more advanced than the original surgery.
Not enough to prevent this Crichton from almost killing you. Why do you want him so badly?
You destroyed my gamic base.
Revenge? He's not a Scarron. You wouldn't waste your hatred on anything else.
This is why I can't have you around. You know me too well.
Without me, you'd still be the same angry, hot-headed young creature I took in so many cycles ago.
Without me, your head, among other things, would be a trophy on the wall of Peacekeeper Command.
See? We were made for each other.
Yeah, we learn a lot more about Scorpius. Well, not a lot more, but we learn more about Scorpius.
And God, I love... Natira is such a vision in this whole thing. That she sort of struts around with such grace. I mean, she's essentially naked, right?
Yeah.
She's just wearing her natural chitinous armor, but she strides around with such command, keeping Scorpius entertained. She even asks him, does it still hurt as much as it used to?
Oh, it's a sensation which is more complicated than pain or something like that.
Yeah, no, that was exactly it. Oh, wow. I dug this. Like, I like alien sex. Let weird things be weird. And especially the sort of pillow talk where he's lying back with the rod sticking out of his head.
Yes.
Waiting for her to reinsert the new one. He's so calm about it.
Oh, checking on our treasure? Or are you helping yourself?
The way I see it, beating you to it.
How dare you? 50-50?
All right, but just enough so no one notices. Yeah. It's always good to have a little something tucked away when I has mana breaks loose.
Rygel is snooping around the ship together with Chiana because they both decided that they wanted to steal a little bit of the money that's lying around. She goes, shall we go halves? Yeah, but not steal too much. We don't want them the others to notice.
They're still the same. They're still themselves. They're doing the same thing that they've done.
They're still like Mungo Jerry and Rumpelteazer who are like...
Yes, this is like the 5th time that they've sort of snuck into somewhere to go and steal it and then blame each other. Hey, what are you doing here? I'm beating you to the punch, it looks like.
And they actually discovered that the money is gone and that it's now critters who are moving around because Chiana goes straight through the deck.
Yep, gets surrounded by these sort of scarab-like metal creatures, chases them off.
They kind of reminded me of the bugs in Starship Troopers. You know, the spindly legs and with the bright color patterns.
Yeah, you're right. The very flat tops as well.
Yep.
The arachnids, I think they were called.
Yeah.
We get a lot of little over-the-shoulder shots of these Carracks scurrying about and the sort of legs that don't quite touch the floor, but good job. Good try.
They spend a lot of time hunting around the ship, but...
Yeah, trying to find one for Zan to experiment on.
Yes.
To try and figure out how they're going to kill these things.
Because they find the damage they've been doing. They've been attacking the ship with acid.
Causing metal fatigue. It's a huge problem for Moya. And we see Chiana walking around with a giant goop gun.
Her big spaff cannon, yes.
Oh my God.
It even makes a sound like that.
It does.
And she does get a bit of a facial in splashback from it.
There's a bit of a splashback. Oh, God, yes, she has. She soggy biscuits the metal light against the wall,
gluing it up to the wall, yeah,
and gets gooped in the face. It's this sort of, it looked like gunge. It's all purple grey. You know, from like...
I thought it was more bluish, but yeah, it's like that slime stuff they use in the Nickelodeon.
Yeah, exactly. In like kids' game shows that you get dunked in. God, that stuff must be rancid, by the way. Because you think about these game shows, right? And sometimes got like a goop pit that people get dumped in.
Yeah.
They don't replace the goop every episode. They probably film like 5 of these episodes in a day and then a solid week.
Yeah.
And so imagine being one of the contestants toward the end, that rancid 5-day-old...
Depends on what it is.
Goop.
Yeah.
What do you think it is?
I don't know. Probably some silica stuff. I don't know.
Would that be safe to sort of swim around in and maybe ingest?
I don't know. I think so, yeah.
Well, maybe
probably.
It's like water and starch or flour or something,
Yeah.
and food dye, and equally as horrible.
Yeah.
But yes.
After Rygel does his little less than helpfulness in this whole exploit, I mean, there's a little bit of exploration when they finally catch one, and Zahn manages to figure out that heat is the thing that can kill it, but they have to heat it up much more than Moya can do internally.
Yeah.
Yes. But a plan is hatched.
Yes, she approaches Pilot with what should initially be the backup plan, which is...
I want to flood Moya's affected areas with the Drexine vapor.
And then we can just give it a quick burn.
You'd burn Moya?
Pilot's like outraged. But,
horrified.
Yes, but he almost immediately turns around and goes like, well, okay, make the preparations, you know?
Zahn is convincing. She tells him this is a plan of last resort.
Yeah, but we have to like make the preparations well in advance so that we can do it if we need to.
And he says that the builders placed Moya in your care.
Yes.
And whatever you decide, we will abide by.
That's a very trusting attitude.
Because it turns out no other plan reveals itself, so the vapor is released. Looks really cool, by the way.
Yeah, floating down the corridors.
Yeah, it's really, really cool. It's got that thick sort of mist, that like rolling like a blanket. It's really awesome.
And 8 hours later, it has been absorbed.
Everyone gathers in Pilot's Den, which was... Oh, yeah, I also learned from the Creatures of Farscape book, Pilot's Den was originally built in the Fox Studios when they still were doing that in Season 1. And that was an unventilated, un-air-conditioned room where Keanu Reeves also did his kung fu practice for The Matrix.
Wow.
Yeah. Cool. I mean, you know, also filmed in Sydney, where Stark had a role. I think I've mentioned that before. Like, he played one of the agents.
Oh, yes, you did, yes.
But yeah, Zahn promises to take as much of Moya's pain as she can. Stark offers to help.
Let's help her again, yes. Stark, who, by the way, is like acting all over the place again.
Yeah.
I mean, we did finally figure out, like, yes, he did have an ulterior motive. Like, his own people were also slaves in that lot.
Oh, also, we learned that Stark is a Stakera.
Ah, is that what the glowy face thing is called?
Yeah, so presumably. I mean, we don't know if other Bannocs do or don't have it, but he is...
attuned to the dying.
Oh, did you notice how Scorpius even knows him by name?
Stark.
Well, I mean, he did spend a lot of time in his chair, so of course he knows him by name.
Yeah, okay, no, that's true. He did. He even asked when the lot of Bannoc slaves was being delivered.
Were there any Stakera amongst the other Bannoc slaves?
Yes.
Pity, I could have used a replacement for the one that I lost.
Yes.
What does that mean? What was he using Stark for?
I don't know. Maybe tuning the chair or something like that. Because Stark actually manages to jump in and stop Rygel from giving information away to...
yes.
To Scorpius, yes.
Because Scorpius has called up Moya and demanded to see Dargo and John. Now that he has Jothi, he wants to make the trade immediately.
Yes. However, they're both out on mission.
On their own fetch quests.
Yep.
Initially, it's quite scary because Stark freaks out at him and yells, you killed my people. You're never getting John Crichton.
Well, go ahead and kill Jothi if you want, because he means nothing to me.
And breaks the transmission by lifting up his helmet, like his faceplate. He lifts the transmission, and everybody freaks out at him. What are you doing? But he assures them, no, Scorpius knows I'm insane. He's not going to harm anyone. This was just primarily to distract him, but unfortunately, Scorpius has already heard from Natira that the Metalites are consuming
the ship.
Moya.
Yeah, so he knows that they're in trouble. They're going to run into a problem sooner or later, because she assures him that it'll be done within
it's just whatever plot
8
convenient
days or
amount
so.
of time. Oh yeah,
it's several days,
solar days or something. This is one of those episodes where just sort of squint at the details.
Oh yeah,
right. Okay, so and they're all within 1 or 2 days of transporter distance, and all the times whatever. It's fine. It's somewhere in the middle episode, but yeah, with everyone gathered back on the ship, sort of contemplating this terrible disaster. This is where John decides to leave. This is where all the
which is not shown.
He slinks off screen, and this is where the Tavlek and the Xiang and the Volcarian are arguing with each other, and it seems to all be falling apart because they can't pay them. And then in walks Rygel, who's been having his own adventure, and he sort of advises all of them, hey,
you're here to do a job. Start acting like professionals.
And I sort of wish, I know we're only getting to his bit at the very end of this episode. I kind of wish that the original episode had been structured that way as well, because it's so great. He shows up at the territory of the Zenithan pirates.
Yes, shuttle gets caught by the flax.
Of course.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. It was in the junkyard, and we see a Luxon assault piercer.
Oh.
I dreamt of serving on one as a boy.
The thing that Dargo was looking for in the flax, which was apparently scheduled for being smelted down, apparently it wasn't.
No, it might not have gotten around to it yet. Because there has been a change of management.
Yes, he's asking for Krakich, who was the original commander, but he doesn't get to speak to him because Krakich has been replaced. And initially we think it's this other Zenithan pirate that's on the screen.
Hello, right.
But no.
Turns out to be Durka. Another...
Durka returns again.
Didn't I have any money on that?
Ooh, I don't think so. Oh, this is actually a good one. Let me look it up real quick. Because in what context do you think do you remember making?
I don't recall. I'm just wondering if I might have had.
Okay, well, I'll do it this one time. It's not a traditional way to play this game. Did I happen to win anything?
You keep a record of all the bets we're making here.
I do. It is a lot at this point, though. No, I'm not seeing here anything about Durka. I think you may be thinking of that you thought that Krace would be returning with the new organization. Yes. But yeah, Durka returns. He's still wearing his sort of Napoleonic Nabari outfit. And rather than bringing them on board whatever ship they've got, they use the transport pod set where Durka sort of prances around and gloats that they were little more than
a band of ruffians, and that he molded them to a more efficient fighting force.
Under my direction, I have turned them and the flax into a tool for power and profit.
And Rygel looks exceptionally meek.
Yes.
And cowed.
That's how we've seen him with Durka before. He's been terrified of him.
Yep. And Durka takes advantage of that. He jumps in. He bullies Rygel.
Like he's done before.
Until he finally steps in and grabs him by the throat.
Gets really close and tells him Death himself will... Oh, what was it?
Yeah. Death himself will pray for your...
Yes. Death himself will pray for you. Wow.
And then he gets zapped by Rygel's cattle prod.
Yes. Which he had this whole time and just... executes Durka and turns to the Zenithan second in command.
I liked your proposal.
Yes. With a big grin, yes.
This fantastic setup. This could have been a whole episode. The Durka returns again.
I think it's better like this.
It's so great. Just kills him.
Yep.
It was a surprise to David Wheeler as well, who played Durka, who was brought in and thought, oh, cool, I get to play this character again. Oh, maybe I'll be a returning character because, last time I was on.
And then he saw a prop of his own head.
Until he was introduced to Dave Elsey, he was like, oh, yes, now can you here's a breathing tube. We're going to take a life cast of your head, and then we're going to, how do you think you look with your head separated? And he goes, what? Oh.
You haven't read the script yet.
No. Okay.
Oh, sorry about that.
Sorry. No, not going to be a returning character. Because, with all the various mercenaries arguing with each other, in walks Rygel and sort of tosses Durka's severed head into the mix. Let's be professional. Yes. I mean, do you want to make a bet on him returning now?
Ooh, I don't think so, no. I'm not taking those odds. Not taking those odds.
Hey, you're a sucker for suckers' odds.
Oh.
Father?
We have a touching reunion between Jothi and Dargo.
Jothi.
because this transport that returns, which Dargo and Eren, hey, they've been spending a lot of time together. Like, earlier they were sitting around and sort of talking, they were just having dinner together. They've really been palling around.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're expecting John to come out and explain where he left in the middle of a crisis. But no, it's Jothi, who, wow, he's been through it.
Yes, although he seems to be very calm and pleasant, and he's just happy to see his father, and it tells him that he kept faith that he would come back for him, even though Dargo confesses that he himself did not expect it anymore, really.
So many times he almost lost hope.
Yeah.
And Jothi reassures him.
I almost lost hope.
I didn't. I knew you would come for me.
He is so fierce, and like his tentacles are cut off. He doesn't have a nose plate.
No,
but
he's a. How do you know his tentacles are cut off? You don't know. He's a hybrid. You
I mean,
don't know how.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
So that's what it looked like. Like they looked like raw scars. Even when Dargo sort of touches them, he hisses in pain.
Oh,
okay, so how did you read it? Because I always read it like the broken nose. That's a ripped off nose plate.
Right, that might be true. I don't know if that's a thing.
Interesting.
I kind of just figured he was a hybrid, so they kind of made him look. They mainly did his hair thing, gave him a few dreads.
Yeah, he has a much flatter face. I mean, he certainly doesn't have the.
I mean, it seems unlikely that
hair.
they'd have a regular nose under the nose plate. I mean, that seems weird to me. I guess the nose plate is just a Luxon nose.
Yeah.
And, Jothi is just a hybrid, so he leans more towards Sebastian than towards Luxon.
Oh, there was.
And, of course, he's also not fully grown yet, because he's got a little bit of wispy little moustache starting to form on his.
Yeah. Hey, how old do we think he is?
Oh, hard to tell.
Because Dargo's only 30 cycles.
Right, and he's quite a bit smaller than Dargo.
Yeah.
Now, okay, so Dargo's was on Moya for 5 cycles, or was that Zahn?
8 degrading cycles.
I have spent 8 degrading cycles aboard this ship.
Right, yes.
So he's at least 8.
Yeah. But
we don't know
30,
what preceded that.
Yeah.
Well, okay. No, you might be right. Maybe he's 8.
No, because he was already a kid.
Oh, you're right. They have got a secret. He's got a hologram of his wife Lolan holding something more substantial than a baby.
Right, yes.
Although we don't know at which rate they grow. Okay, so it's at least 8 years plus, let's say they were 5. That would make him 13?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say, I'd give him about 15-ish or so. Although he's very calm and collected, also when he's talking to Scorpius.
And very sort of receptive, almost. Like you can see in his eyes that he's listening.
I mean, and he starts by talking to Scorpius, saying, like, oh, you bought 10,000 slaves just to get me?
Yeah.
It's like...
He's really confused. He's a fascinating character. But yet, I don't think he's older than Dargo was when he fathered Jothi.
Probably
right?
not. No. Oh, that's a good point, yeah.
Yeah, because at 15, he'd be half Dargo's age.
Oh, interesting question, yeah.
It's just now occurring to me, and it never did before, because you see this actor, that is a 20-something actor playing a teenager, right?
Absolutely.
That's the kind of look that we're going for.
Yeah.
There's none of the usual sort of pubescent gangliness that actual teenage boys are known for.
I'm also wondering how that exchange went. Okay, so John flies the transport pod there, talks to Scorpius, who actually honors his agreement without actually talking to John first. So he must have... I mean, how did that exchange go?
It happens off screen, but let's sort of imagine how we do it. I guess John shows up in his transport pod holding a gun to his head.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I suppose that makes sense. Bring him over, I'll shoot myself.
Exactly. I mean, that would be the way to do it. If he's bringing himself into the lion's den, so to speak, he's clearly not expecting to survive. He maybe has some hope, as he says to Scorpius, like you pointed out.
You want the wormhole technology? I want your implant out of my head.
But then he doesn't see Scorpius until after Jothi's already left. So there's it's a bit of a weird exchange. I mean, I'm just trying to figure out how that exchange would have gone. And apparently,
you need to do a lot of hand waving with this this episode to sort of make it all work out. But yeah, I think we've covered all the bases. So let's get into the willies and woodies, because I think this is going to be pretty challenging.
She gives me a woody.
She gives you the willies.
Oh, yes. Oh, let me think. I haven't given that a thought of that. Okay.
This is the hardest episode to do that for because there are so many bits that I love.
I mean, I could cop out for my willy, say the fact that the module actually makes the sound of a jet airline when it's moving through space. But, that's...
That's very you, though.
I know.
I would accept that one.
Let's see. Willy, I guess no, definitely the scene where Moya gets burnt. When the fire moving through the corridors, and later on when John returns and he actually can see that she's burning from the outside.
Yeah.
That's like, oh God, yeah, that's definitely my Willy.
The sort of terror and the screaming and the horror of having to go through that.
I mean, it's like a painful medical procedure, I suppose, at this point. Like, we have to burn the wound. I mean, you get that one, like, when someone takes a red-hot poker to, like, stick it in a wound that they have to...
cauterize
it. Yeah, it's literally something like that, except on a bigger scale.
Since we've all been sort of running around, why didn't they send another transport pod out to get some of that lovely chlorium from the planet with the space radio shack?
Oh, yes.
That's probably also like just around the corner at this point.
It kind of has to be, yes.
They could have met Linnea again, and it's just onlux.
Yes. Oh, all right. Yeah, very good point. But, yeah.
Well...
I mean, they had 8 arms for it, so...
I'm struggling to find a way... God, I can't say this out loud. We should have named it something else. Okay, Woodies are actually even harder.
Okay.
Because one thing we didn't talk about, while Crichton is revealing his plan, we get a montage.
Oh,
yeah,
yes.
We get clip show. It's a clip show montage from season 1, all the greatest hits. It's so great. Oh, yeah. Crichton talks to Harvey. We haven't even talked about that at all.
Who's Harvey again?
The neural clone. That's what he called the Scorpius vision in his head.
When he's sitting in his transport pod coming back or going
in his
towards...
module, going to get Bakesh.
Yes.
Right? He summons this neural clone, which Harvey says, you shouldn't be able to do that.
Yes, that's peculiar. And he says, like...
We're sharing now. And that's how I'm going to beat you.
And then he goes like, well, maybe that's what I want you to think, which sounds like a cheap-ass routine which is just put in there
right?
too. Yeah, because after you first said you shouldn't be able to do that, and then when John gloats about that, he goes like, oh, maybe I'm just like making you think that. And it's like, that seems like,
it's too late.
Yeah, that seems like a caged response or a standard Scorpius response.
Yeah.
Which is programmed in there too.
Oh, you think he has like pre-recorded, just canned phrases that he can summon?
Pretty much, yeah. It's a neural thing which is living rent-free in John's head.
Ew. Oh, that's a horrible use of that that phrase. Let me see what else. Oh, there's the vegetation on the Tavlek occupied planet, reminding us of Throne for a Loss, where it was filmed on a planet where all the vegetation had been digitally colored green. That was a great callback. All these callbacks were so great. I guess maybe my Willy would have to go to John manipulating a person with addiction into succumbing to the addiction again. I think it's a
little bit of a scummy thing to do, but...
Okay, Woody's. Dargo's performance throughout this episode, the sex scene.
Oh, yes.
Right? Where are we going to...
I mean, Chiana Spaff Cannon.
This is just, it's wall-to-wall Woodies in this episode. Every single scene is so great. I'm scrubbing through the GIFs. There is nothing that I don't love. It is such a stunningly a satisfying episode.
Yeah, it does not suffer from middle episode syndrome. That's
right. Okay, well, hey, let's analyze that. What is middle episode syndrome?
It's kind of keeping the story rolling when you know that there's not going to be a resolution at the end of this episode.
Doesn't it do that?
No, I would say not. I mean, it's...
Because here's the thing. All of the plots that are resolved in this episode are also introduced in this episode.
Yes.
Right? The recruitments, the metalites, and the fire. Oh, actually, no. The plot of Joffrey's son.
Yes.
Cadargo's son, of course.
I mean, that one's resolved.
Yeah.
Because he now finally has a son. The metalites plot is resolved. And we have the plot of gathering the misfits.
Yeah.
That is... Okay, that's set up as we're going to do that to try and rescue Jothi. But my prediction is that this is now going to be used to go and rescue John.
I'll take that bet. How many points?
50.
50?
Yeah.
All right, on the board. I feel like a bookie.
Yeah, well, you are. So that's my prediction for part 3 of Liars, Guns, and Machinations. I always forget what the M stands for.
Money!
Money, that's the
money,
one.
baby!
But there's no money. There is no money. Why is all the money gone?
Our money's alive!
We haven't settled on a Woody. There's just too many.
Well, I think we've covered the Woodies. We haven't settled on any single one, but we have nominated many.
No, we can't. We've got to have favourites. We've got to play favourites.
Okay.
Rygel killing Durka, just coming out of nowhere. What you think could be a whole setup for a whole new episode, and he just straight up kills him. They bring back this guest actor, this unexpected callback to season 1 in an episode full of callback to season 1,
and then they just immediately off him. Yeah,
it's so good.
Rygel finally gets his proper comeuppance, and
he gets his Rygel's revenge.
Yes. Well, I would say the sex scene, except that that's at least half Willy and half Woody. So,
in my experience, that is most sex scenes. Yeah.
So, my Woody definitely goes to Chiana Spaffcannon.
You are incorrigible, and I heartily encourage you to continue. And that's the story so far, Farscape.
Join us next week with episode 221, Liars, Guns and Money, Part 3. Plan B is what it's called. See, there we go. With amends like these, who needs frenemies? Third time's a charm.
I really struggled with that one. They were really great synopses, but gotta keep them separated.
We'll see about those next week.
You can find us at SoFarscape on Facebook and Twitter. We'd love to hear from you. We're posting GIFs there every week. Also, GIF packs and fanfiction readings on our Patreon for anyone who wants to chip in. Starts at $1 a month. Everyone gets the same. We appreciate all of you so much. We're actually we're going to have to go shopping pretty soon, because we promised that if there was anything left over, we're just going to see if we can get some absolute nonsense, and it is about time that we start.
Oh, I'm excited to see what you can come up with to spend on Farscape. I was going to say Farscape fun bucks.
No, these are for real
fun bucks.
Farscape, Farscape fan bucks.
There we go. Yeah.
If you want to chip in, that's at sofarscape.com/support. And if you want to send us in one of your fantastic, clever synopses where you can stump Kay with a description of a future episode, that's sofarscape.com/submit.
Yes, thank you all for your generosity, and we hope to hear from you.
You're absolutely amazing. I'm Kaki.
I'm Kay.
So Farscape, so good.